Thank you for tuning in. This is Beryl Elite's Conference, a sidebar, and I'm here with Christina Chang. How are you doing, Christine?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Thank you. Christina, please do introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. So, my name is Christine Chang, and I'm head of strategy for Monarch, which is a quant digital asset fund that acts as the asset management arm as well of 𝐂𝐴LX, one of the largest crypto prime brokerages.
All right, so we're talking digital assets.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right, let's start with this. The question that interests me the most is everybody's been talking about it now, real world assets tokenization. What is it? How does it work? Where do you see it going? And are we going to transfer entire world of ours into the digital tokens?
So we are certainly in the very nascent stages of that wave happening, but will there be a world in which my grandmother can buy $100 worth of Citadel's flagship Wellington fund, which at the moment, you have to invest at least 10 million to get access to? Yes, I believe that there is a world within the next 10 years in which we are democratizing access to, you know, certain hedge funds like Citadel that at the moment most of us do not have access to. So there's that sleeve.
Right.
And then there's also another sleeve in which, folks can subscribe directly to funds such as Citadel and then trade their portion in a secondary market. So their access to a private credit fund will become liquid, as in you and I can trade in and out of our LP share in Apollo's fund through the crypto markets. And that's actually already in play. Apollo tokenized one of their funds this year in January, and now it's on chain on base.
What are the most desirable real world assets at this time for tokenization?
So private credit and real estate has seen a lot of tokenization because they are historically illiquid funds, and by tokenizing, you know, a credit fund, we're allowing folks to trade their share in and out on a weekly basis on some protocols. So that has been a huge change because that's allowing crypto inflows, more AUM for credit funds. And it's also allowing folks to buy a smaller share of a credit fund and then trade out of it if they want liquidity.
I see. So the how about, for example, land, water, crops? Are these things also do or eventually going to be tokenized?
I mean, we're seeing tokenization or the fractionalization of a purchase of art at the moment. So I'm sure we I know for a fact that there are efforts to, tokenize water settlement rights funds. Um, and funds that are buying, agricultural co-ops, they are tokenizing their funds so that again we can participate in it on chain.
What does it mean for the average consumer? As in, let's say, I have no experience in any of this, and well, I hear, well, there's this water source being tokenized, and I would want to get into the action, in on action. So,
So for uh for something like a real asset, I would say you have to diligence the underlying asset. Like
how worthy is the actual real world asset?
if you are investing directly in something in a piece of land that's being tokenized, um, I would say you have to have some form of expertise in diligencing that. And I wouldn't advise for you to do that directly. Invest in a fund that is underwriting these, these deals, selling, for example, selling farmland in Idaho, like they already have the expertise, so you're underwriting that fund's track record, which is a lot easier to do than becoming an expert in land appraisals directly.
So this is where you and Monarch comes in to picture.
Well, to be honest, we participate in we are not we participate in tokenization deals, as in we're an early provider of liquidity for some of these protocols, but our fund, it's a roughly 300 million multi-strat quant fund. We actually are doing arbitrage, as in non-directional trades. So if the market goes down 20%, like the sell-off on October 10th, we're not affected at all. As in, we don't take a directional, view on things. So that is something that we have participated in, tokenization. We've also done DeFi arbitrage. We do options market making. Those were our roots, our bread and butter originally 7 years ago, and it's done pretty well for us. Annualizing 46% delta neutral with no drawdowns more than 3% over the last 7 years.
So far you've been only winning.
In crypto, we have done really well. We have done really well, but not only winning. I mean, that's too good to be true then.
All right, fair enough. What are the biggest misconceptions people have when they are allocating funds, for example, for an investment?
So the difference is that investing in a crypto fund that trades crypto is very similar to the process of investing in a fund that trades commodities, trades, oil or energy. As in, really what we're doing is we're applying traditional market strategies to the digital asset market. As in, in commodities trading, right? How you assess an options trade in commodities is very similar to how we would assess an options trade within digital assets. The biggest difference is that there's all these newfangled terms like protocols, layer ones. There's certain tokens, aka equities. It's equivalent of equities, tokens, equities that have weird names, like,
how does one orient
Dogecoin? Sorry.
How does one orient himself or herself within that vast linguistic challenge of words?
Well, I would say first, the first step is to recognize that almost every crypto term has a traditional finance equivalent, and just proceed from the framework of, for some reason, we decided to create different names for concepts that are almost exactly the same as one would find in traditional finance. So an options contract is called a perpetual swap in crypto, but it's the same thing as a traditional finance. And I would say there are some podcasts that are pretty good to listen to because they democratize, they make it easy, for one to follow. Jordy Alexander, he was a poker player that started a prop fund, and I listened to his, and there's a couple folks as well on that. One is I listened to Avi Feldman's podcast as well. He's pretty good. He used to trade for Golden Tree, which is a credit fund, a 50 billion credit fund. And he traded digital assets for them. So I would say just try to listen first to people who were once in traditional finance, like, ingest their literature before moving further right on the crypto Twitter risk spectrum where you get guys who are trading crypto out of their basement, at age 17 and posting on there, because those hot takes are a lot more wild and harder to follow. Uh,
Okay, yeah, I'll try to take it in. So, what should people, newcomers, be looking for or be aware of when they are looking to invest in these digital assets?
Look for the same metrics that you would when you're assessing a traditional hedge fund. For example, how long the fund has been around. It's easy. For example,
What's a good measurement? Or
five
the like
plus years.
5+.
5+ years of track. Look at times when the crypto market sold off, because you don't want to pay LP fees for a fund that only does well, when Bitcoin and Ethereum are up. You want them to protect your money, because in crypto, volatility is 2 to 3 times more than traditional equity markets, right? So look at October 10th, 2 weeks ago. There were massive liquidations, over 15 billion of liquidations. Our fund did fine, but that's what we're supposed to do. That's not something special. Like a delta neutral fund should not see a drawdown during those periods, but just check several periods to see if that fund performed well during that period of time. And the biggest, most important aspect of crypto is you have to be you have to be a frontier adopter of new pockets of arbitrage. For example, digital asset treasuries this year, we got in very early, and we started arbitraging some of the DATs that listed, right? But that trade has since, we believe, dried up. So just to be early in at least allocating a small part of your portfolio to a new arbitrage pocket. And I feel like, obviously I'm biased, but I feel like we are
You're the best. I have no doubt
historically
about
have
that.
been very good at getting in early on certain trends, right? And developing the quantitative technologies around that.
Well, thank you, Christina. And before I let you go, then maybe give our audience, I don't know, you already laid pretty take your wisdom. Maybe there's some tips and tricks people should be aware of. You can, I don't know, not necessarily give advice, but maybe make a suggestion. For those who are absolutely new, they want to start, how do they go about it?
Oh, as someone who came out of, traditional investment banking, I worked at a 25 billion credit fund and launched a machine learning quant fund. I come from the traditional side of the business before crypto, so I'm not, a crypto diehard. I would say initially just buy BlackRock's IBIT ETF. Buy and hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, more blue chip crypto that you can sleep at night and not have to track. Only invest the amount that you're willing to lose entirely. And that's my honest advice. I think ultimately, unfortunately, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this on camera, but a lot of crypto is about retail investors usually get the short end of the stick with most altcoins. But that being said, there is tremendous growth in this space. And with the recent regulatory changes that the Trump administration has put forth that are super favorable to crypto, the aperture of this market has definitely grown. So it's an area in which there's a lot more upside, but just stick to the basics first. ETFs like IBIT, um, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Don't invest in funds that promise you, things that likely are too good to be true and you have to pay fees for. Aside from ours, of course.
Of course, this is not a financial advice.
No,
This
it's
is
not.
strictly for entertainment purposes only. Christina Chang, Head of Strategy for Monarch, I thank you so much for, well, giving us some of your precious time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was
Thank
fun
you.
talking.